Hello, my name is Sarah Aldrich, and I'm a sophomore student here at MSU working with the SCOT program. In this presentation, I will be talking about how I've used surveys in different ways this past semester in two observations that I did. The first observation that I've completed was for an engineering professor whose class dealt mainly with the Excel program. I was a little nervous going into this classroom just because I don't have a lot of experience with Excel myself, but the professor assured me that this was a good thing because he wanted to see it from a student's perspective, how he could improve the class and the understandability of it. The class was half lecture and half independent work time to practice the Excel material. He chose to go with the Recorder Observer option along with the survey. The instructor decided to have the survey after about an hour of class, so I recorded and observed during that 1 hour, and then we did the survey. The professor left the room for the survey to be conducted. There were 3 questions on the survey, which were, what helps you learn in this class? What hinders your learning in this class? And what suggestions do you have for improving this class? The sheets, which are on the SCOT D2L page and can be printed for free in the CETL office, allow students to write responses and general information about the course as well. Some students finished the survey in a couple of minutes, and then other students took about 10 to 15 minutes to fill out the survey. And then I have here what my formal reflection looked like for this part of the survey. I made a separate page for the survey results, and each question was placed in bold. In this case, it was what helps you learn in this class. And then underneath, I put a chart, and this chart displayed the highest results from the class. For this class in particular, running through the examples really helped students to learn. And so I displayed that by putting an X for each student who put that on their survey. And then underneath each of the charts for each of the questions, I placed quotes from students, a few positive ones, and then also a few constructive critiques from students. This way, the professor knows what he should continue doing and then what he might also think about changing. It keeps the professor feeling positive, and it also shows a good balance. Next, I worked with a nursing professor in a nursing class of 39 students. Students were just about to graduate, as this was an exit class, and the professor had actually worked with these students a couple of years before for an introduction class. So it was unique to see the relationships that the students had built with their professor. The second observation was not so much of an observation as it was just a survey. The professor really just wanted to see how students felt she had grown over the course of 2 years and how they felt about this course because there was a lot of information packed into it. I had anticipated using the same kind of survey from my first observation, but I ended up improvising and decided to go with a discussion style. So after the professor left the classroom, I used the survey sheet on D2L again to format my questions, and I used the same 3 from the first observation, and then I also added what types of technology are used in the classroom because I really wanted to get a feel for what the course was like and kind of what it felt like for the students. Since I did not observe an actual class, I wanted this general idea of how the course was formatted, and students I found were very willing to participate. I could see, though, how this approach in a lecture type of classroom might be a little more difficult, as students might not all be willing to participate. And so in that case, I would use the survey from my first observation. So the questions that I used and the format I ended up using for my reflection looks like this. I put the questions in bold at the top, And then I put the responses from students that were most overwhelming, right? And so as I was in the process of conducting the survey in the class, I had written down a lot more things than just the 5 or so bullet points that I have now, but I compiled responses to make it more cohesive and more understandable for the professor for during our final meeting time. Both of the professors were really thankful at the end of these observations for the reflections that I provided, and it was a really good experience conducting surveys in different ways. On one hand, I liked how in the first observation, all the students had a voice and I got quotations from them so I could have more concrete examples for the professor during our final meeting. But with the second observation, I also felt like I had more of a grasp of what the class was actually like. And I felt like I understood the students' thoughts better as well. Both professors, again, they were really appreciative and they wanted to implement these changes into their course in the future. Thank you.